Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Nick Cage Fight podcast, where we're here to hold your hand through the explanation of a number of scams, probably giving you ideas for several criminal enterprises that you yourselves could undertake. This does not denote in any way, shape, or form legal advice. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Rich and Ryan, here to conclude the thrilling tale of Matchstick Men. Rich and Ryan, how are we feeling?
I believe we're both doing a pigeon drop right now.
Oh no, I'm doing a fiddler's game modified with a pig in the pokey.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep.
That is a good one. Listeners, we won't tell you what those are for legal reasons.
Yeah, for legal reasons. Not because we don't actually know the specifics, and I just Googled names of cons.
So, if I'm remembering correctly, where we last left off, I went on a long
shopping cart tangent, I believe.
Yeah,
the last thing that happened was ice cream was purchased.
I stand by every insane thing I said about shopping carts. Return your fucking shopping carts. It's not a hobby. Do it. Otherwise, you're violating the social contract, and I do think you are revoking your access to all of the benefits of living in a civilized society.
And
that's just my opinion.
Also, you're violating my human rights.
You're also missing out on life's simple joy of once you've emptied your shopping cart into your car, pushing the shopping cart really fast and jumping on it and riding it over to the cart return.
100%. Have some fun with it and do your civic duty.
Oh, you see, I'm too heavy for that. I will, like, the front wheels pop off, then I'm doing like a wheelie the whole time.
Oh, we got to work on your balance.
Yeah,
you just got to get a solid lean over the bar. And you're good. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. Returning shopping carts should be fun. That would probably help with some of our less altruistic members. But like I said, we'll work on it. We'll figure it out. So yes, ice cream was purchased. Roy and Frank have set the hook for Chuck, again, the character that I refer to mainly as the Mark, because that's what he is. They should have named him Mark. Maybe that would have been too on the nose.
That would have been, yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It would have been funny, though.
I would have been funny. Or, like, you could do a little stink on it, call him Marcus.
Yeah.
Little stank.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack to this.
Yeah, there's some occasionally excellent, interesting scoring in this. A lot of Sinatra, too, though.
Well, yeah, but just the one song.
Just the one song, yeah.
Yeah, but they go back to that well enough that it almost feels like a Scorsese film if you close your eyes.
Wait, I think I just made this connection. Is Frank fucking named for Frank Sinatra?
Wait, say it again?
Is Frank in this movie named for Frank Sinatra because of the consistency with which Frank Sinatra, that one song, is played?
Maybe?
Don't know.
Plus, Sinatra was in the original Ocean's 11, one of the greatest con movies.
True.
It probably is all of a reference. But yeah, no, I'm not sure.
Just while we bring up
Ocean's, said that, I didn't even think about it.
Just while we bring up Ocean's 11, do either one of you watch the What We Do in the Shadows TV show?
I've seen at least 2 seasons of it. I haven't seen all of it, though.
Then you've seen the episode. It's one of my favorite gags that Sean, the neighbor, thinks that Ocean's 11 is a prequel of Ocean's 12.
Oh my God, yes.
And that Ocean's 12 is the real movie.
It's the real movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, like there's an episode in season 3 where they go to Atlantic City.
I have seen at least some of season 3 then, because I have seen the Atlantic City episode.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, look at us. We look like we're in Ocean's 12, but actually, not a lot of people give too much credit to Ocean's 11, but it was a solid prequel. Lots of world building.
Yeah.
Not to clown too hard on one of our Patreon subscribers, but they incorrectly believe that Ocean's 12 is the best of the Ocean movies when it is far and away the weakest.
Hang on. No, because
it is.
I agree. I agree
You're wrong
that
too.
It's very good. It's
I've never seen somebody so enthusiastically raise their hand and like, I'm with the wrong crowd.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I think the best Ocean's movie is the Frank Sinatra one. Dean Martin is also there.
Well, yeah, but
nobody is surprised by that, Ryan.
of the new ones, Ocean 12 is underrated, especially the scene where they're talking in riddles and Matt Damon starts singing Kashmir and they have to take him outside. You told him that his daughter was a whore.
Oh,
a cheap one. Listen, all right. That is also the fucking scene that our Patreon subscriber brings up every time. That and the goddamn electro house music fucking laser grid dancing scene. That is all that movie has going with it.
Ocean's 12 is good. I will not take this slander.
It's fine. It is the weakest of the three.
It's better than 13. 13 is just 11 again without Al Pacino this time.
Correct.
And not
which
even
is why it is superior to 12.
Not even hot Al Pacino. If I have to watch Al Pacino,
First
he
of all,
better
Al
be
Pacino
hot.
is always hot. You fucking watch your mouth.
I need an late 60s, early 70s Al Pacino to be.
Well, Al Pacino has looked the same from the time you just mentioned to today. He has looked 0% different.
Well, you didn't like him in that product placement in the middle of Jack and Jill?
No, I did not.
Yeah, me neither.
No, I need a young Al Pacino so I have some eye candy to look at while I'm watching him do a lot of heroin.
This is
that first movie he did that I'm blanking on the name now.
Panic at Needle Park.
Yes, I love that movie. I kept on
insane talk. Pacino has not looked any different a day after the filming of Heat.
Well, yes. Okay. That was going to be like my point.
Okay,
like
that I agree with, but a Godfather Pacino and Heat Pacino are two different men.
Yeah,
he has a new accent,
marginally different.
Yeah, Heat Pacino has started to develop that fucking shock of gray hair like Ra's al Ghul.
All right, look. I'm not a big fan of AI, but I would use AI to determine the percentage change in facial features between Pacino in Godfather and Pacino in Heat and on. And I have a feeling that percentage is very low. Anyway,
between Godfather and Heat, absolutely not. We need a side by side.
How long have we've been talking about Al Pacino for 7.5 minutes?
Put a number on it.
It's like a 20% change.
All right. Okay, 20% change.
20% is substantial. I'm not saying that he got face off.
He has
a new like that.
He has a new voice. His voice in the 70s is not his voice now. He developed this weird accent from being in too many mob movies.
Absolutely. And when he sees a big ass, something comes over him.
I'm sorry.
That is not what his
talking
voice
about his
accent.
Like. I fucking loved him doing Jimmy Hoffa just in the Pacino accent.
Okay,
that will never not be funny.
That was good. But like he went from like this really soft spoken, like almost Midwestern accent to like this real heavy duty New York accent. Like I'm like, Pacino, what are you doing, man? It's not your accent. No. You're not from here.
I don't know. I don't know how to continue this conversation. What I will do is
should probably talk about the movie.
No, we can talk about Pacino for an hour.
To say that if you think Ocean's 12 is the best of the modern Ocean's movie, you're just being a contrarian, or you like breakdancing too much, which is
I
also a contrarian take.
One of my favorite movies is Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo. So,
well, yeah, who doesn't love that movie?
People who are really big fans of Breakin' 1. Because Breakin' 1 got overshadowed by Breakin' 2.
But it's because of the name Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Godfather Part 3 and Carlito's Way are 3 years apart. And I would pull back the Heat thing to Carlito's Way and say Pacino hasn't looked any different today than he has since Carlito's Way. And that's only 2 years different. I don't know. I think we do need to bring in the AI on this.
Yeah, one. Yeah.
Get back to the fucking movie we're supposed to discuss.
All right, fine.
Yeah, all right. This isn't one that we're trying to avoid the plot line. We actually enjoy the plot on this one, guys. Roy gets back home to find his place is very messy, which does not seem to bother him particularly. And Angela is is passed out on the couch. He puts a blanket over her. And she wakes up briefly to ask why her mom left him. And Roy says you'd have to ask her about that, not copping to the whole black eye while pregnant thing. And Angela reveals that the fight that she had with her mom was about Roy and how Angela doesn't think that he is a bad guy.
Oh shit, one more. AI Pacino.
I like that.
I'm not even going to dignify.
It's going to be the name of
response.
the machine learning program I write to show you that Al Pacino's face has in fact changed.
It's significantly. The argument is that it has changed significantly.
I mean, at least by 1/5.
I think that's.
I think that's correct.
I think it's a stretch. I think it's a stretch goal. We'll see. Maybe we'll make a poll on the fucking X account. See who feels strongly about Pacino and his characteristics. We got to put up pictures, so I suggest you find some strong examples.
Absolutely.
So the next day, Roy is finally scrambling to clean up after Hurricane Angela. Frank shows up that morning, and Roy refuses to let him in the house. But Frank is excited to tell him how well it went down with Chuck after he left the strip club. Roy rushes Frank away before he can really get a sense that or know anything about Angela in specific. So, having gone back inside, Angela reveals that her mom was mad originally when she found out that she ran away to her father's house, but that she's calmed down and now she just wants Angela back by Monday, which means she's got another 4 days at Roy's. It is Thursday at this point. So this causes some anxiety in Roy, and he runs to therapy again. His doctor advises that he just try and be as open and honest with his daughter as possible. So Roy goes home and he makes dinner. It goes badly. A brief aside about this, Roy makes spaghetti olio, which was actually a staple of my childhood, which is pasta without sauce specifically. It's
well, you make like an emulsion with the pasta water and olive oil and the garlic.
Yeah.
I would still consider that like
but I think that he just threw some basil leaves in there and called it a fucking day.
Yeah, which is like that's not what goes into an olio olio. It's supposed to be parsley.
Yeah,
flat leaf parsley.
The cost-effective meal when I was growing up was what you did was you toasted very thinly sliced garlic in oil and then just tossed the whole pasta in that, salted it a little bit, threw a little bit of butter in it, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's good
as far as a kid's palate was concerned. I still occasionally make it.
I mean, yeah, it's good as hell. Little red pepper flake. Just you got to bloom your black pepper in the oil a little bit too. Ooh.
Oh yeah,
so good.
So dinner does not go well, and they end up ordering pizza. So Roy and Frank meet with Chuck at lunch together the next day to further the long con. In this case, it actually involves spending some seed money to set this up. What happens is Roy is playing the part of a banker who is skimming money off of transactions to some degree, and then ending up with foreign currency that, because he is a bank employee, as he explains it, he cannot exchange without setting off a number of red flags. So the way they set up the scam is Roy accepts an amount of money worth less than the foreign exchange rate in American dollars from the mark Chuck, and then gives him this foreign currency that is worth, at this point in the film, roughly $2,500 more than what he gave in exchange. So this, like I said, is seed money to hook the mark to attempt this with a bigger transaction in which he is not going to walk away with any funds whatsoever, foreign or domestic. So during this meeting, Roy actually utilizes his burgeoning relationship with Angela to gain some rapport with Chuck by talking about what it's like having teenage daughters together. Frank obviously has some questions at this point, and Roy brings Frank home to meet Angela, but she is not there. She appears to have taken off. Roy chalks it up to her having gone home to her mother a little bit ahead of schedule. However, later that night, Angela sneaks back into the house through the sliding glass door. Roy confronts her and has a bit of a freak out, and he leads with, "Listen to these ads," which I thought was odd as an opener for a parent chastising a child.
But again, like, these Nick Cage movies are really, really helping us out a lot.
Their timing is impeccable.
It's crazy. It lines up almost perfectly. It's like playing Hotel California over The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Listen to these ads. No, don't do that. Don't waste your time.
Well, yeah, because we all know that the only thing that syncs up with the Wizard of Oz is never mind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. The first time you see the Wicked Witch of the West, Pretty Vacant starts playing.
Really? I was under the impression it was that one Chicago album with 46, whatever the fuck that one is.
I am making shit up.
I know, me too. The actual, if I wanted to get pedantic, I could be like, oh, it's the Dark Side of the Moon. But it doesn't sync up because it's not long enough to.
I will say, Ryan, your expression when I did the Hotel California.
Because I fucking hate the Eagles.
I hate the fucking Eagles.
I hate the fucking Eagles, man.
I had a bad day.
One of my favorite things I saw some of my most unhinged friends doing in college is they were all like real big Guitar Hero nerds. Like, they were so good at it they could play it on mute.
Yeah.
So what they would do is they would put on Guitar Hero and just play random songs on mute and put on random records and see what would sync up at random times.
That's really fucked up, man. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I can't imagine my brain working like that. How'd their brains work like that?
They're now like government employee engineers making like $250,000 a year.
Wild.
Of course they are.
So their brains are wired differently.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
they're just built different.
The closest I've come to an experience like that is the one time me and several friends of mine took an unhealthy amount of psilocybin mushrooms and tried to watch Ponyo. And
man, I could see that actually being a bad time.
Oh, it's so much funnier than that. 5 minutes into the film, one of us sat on the remote and muted the movie, and it took us an hour to realize that it was muted.
Cool.
That's fucking great.
I swear to God, we all kept looking back and forth at each other and we're like, isn't Matt Damon supposed to voice a character in this movie? I can't tell which one's Matt Damon. I fucking swear to God. When everything started to wear off and we realized it was on mute, we were like, son of a bitch, we missed Matt Damon. And that's why I'm not working a 6-figure government job, because I did that instead of play Guitar Hero on mute to see what it sank up with. Anyway, so after Angela sneaks back in, Roy has a freak out, which is actually very, very funny. Angela confronts him about the money and the gun and the dog. And seeing this character get flustered is one of my favorite bits in the entire film. And he's like, that's very rude. You're a nosy Parker, and shame on you. It's just a hilarious display by Nick Cage. This, I will say, I mean, we've watched, I would say we're at least semi-professionals when it comes to the ranking Nick Cage performances. This is one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's really damn good in this.
Yeah, it is a very good performance. It's up there with a movie that you did not like, but a good performance adaptation.
Yep. I loved his performance. I hated that movie.
Yeah, the movie sucked shit.
It was the writing for me.
Look, Charlie Kaufman only ever made one good movie, and it's Being John Malkovich.
Correct.
Malkovich.
Yeah, throwback to why you got to watch Knockaround Guys. Malkovich is in it.
Ooh. I'll watch a Malkovich.
Maybe I'll double feature that with Being John Malkovich.
There you go.
Just also, triple feature it with Rounders then.
That's a good idea.
Because then you get a Matt Damon and a John Malkovich. Boom, full circle.
You know what my favorite character in Being John Malkovich was?
John Malkovich?
No, the Jersey Turnpike.
Yes.
Yeah. Such a great place for his brain to let out.
It's so perfect. It's fucking amazing. So this confrontation blows up and Angela goes to leave. I am surprised that Roy is able to keep it together because he's trying to stop her. He's one of those guys who reacts off the cuff and then immediately regrets it. And so he pursues Angela out of the house, and she is shrieking at the top of her lungs every time he tries to get close to her. Like I said, I'm surprised he doesn't just flee in the opposite direction. But ultimately he gets her to stop, and she confronts him explicitly about lying to her, and insisting, that he tell her why he has a gun. So he gets her to come back inside. He orders more pizza. This is also just a quick shout out to it. It's a funny recurring bit with the pizza dude that he wants nothing to do with, that he gives money to very quickly and then slams the door on. So
I was going to mention it last time.
Yeah,
that it's a good bit. It's like a 4-time bit.
Yeah, it's throwaway, but it's pretty solid. So Roy tells Angela the truth about what he does for money, and explains that he's a confidence man. It also explains the title of the movie. They do say it here. This is they said the name of the movie line, but Matchstick Man or Men is also jargon for a con man.
Mm-hmm.
So Angela starts begging Roy to show her a con, teach her something. He refuses. So she corners him in the bathroom and threatens to tell him about stuff that she has done with boys if he doesn't agree to show her a con. She gets partway through a story until Roy relents and agrees to show her something. So the next day, he takes her out for her promised lesson. He picks up a lotto ticket and fills it out with 4 of the 5 winning numbers from the previous drawing. Goes inside to play it and get an actual ticket produced. The guy behind the counter gives him some shit. Angela gives him some shit back, the guy behind the counter, and they get their ticket. So from here, Roy crumples the ticket, messes it up a bit, and then has Angela help him by taking a coin and obscuring the date that the ticket was purchased for. From there, she goes into a laundromat and picks a machine nearby a older woman who is also in the laundromat. And when she's walking away from her after setting up the wash, she drops this ticket. And the older lady says, "Hey, you dropped something." She says, "Oh, that's not mine. Here you go. It's a lotto ticket." Essentially, Angela plays it coy until the older woman's curiosity gets the better of her, and she's like, "Hey, we should at least check it, right?" This whole time, Roy is playing the plant. He is a guy with a newspaper in the laundromat. The ladies ask to borrow his newspaper to check the winning numbers, and they see that 4 of the 5 numbers on this ticket that they found are correct, and they're like, "Oh well, damn, so close." And Roy goes, no, 4 out of 5 pays.
By the way, this is probably the closest we're going to get to the Jamaican switch that we were talking about in episode 1. Like, this is definitely a variation of the Jamaican switch.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So the older lady goes out. She calls the line, and they confirm, yes, 4 out of 5 does pay. It pays $600. And so the old lady is like, "Okay, what we should do is, go get your mom. We'll go down and claim the money together. you should get half of it. You found it with me. And Angela's like, no, I got to get home. It's not a big deal. And the lady's like, no, that's not right. So she goes to an ATM and she pulls out $300 in cash and gives it to Angela, essentially prepaying Angela out for her share of the winnings. Angela gets back in the car. Roy is very proud at how well she pulled off her first scam, and then immediately insists that she go back and turn over the money back to the lady that she scammed it out of, which Angela does.
So I forgot to mention it in housekeeping, but that lady in the laundromat was definitely in City Slickers 2, The Legend of Curly's Gold. This is just a movie I have to talk about every time it comes up. I love City Slickers.
So
it's a good movie.
Yep, they're both good.
So back in therapy, Roy is excited about this whole thing. He couches it all in his lie about being a antique dealer to the doctor, and explaining that he took Angela on one of his business meetings and watched her work over a client like he usually does. Frank and Roy after this are scoping out the airport, which is the final setting for them concluding this long con that Frank has set up. And involves a distraction at the point of the handoff, so Roy can make a switch with the briefcases filled with money, and they indicate they'll be using a homeless person that they typically use when they need a distraction. So with their final preparations made, they part ways. Roy goes back to the grocery store, finally introduces himself to the cashier that he always goes to when he shops at this place. And then back at home, Roy is listening to a voicemail from Angela sent to him on repeat, planning up a meeting between the two later that week after she gets out of summer school. So Roy takes Angela bowling at her request, and he gets a call in the middle of this, and Frank tells him that the Mark Chuck has bumped up the plan and they have to do the con today. There's no getting around it. He has a ticket to the Cayman Islands. That's where he's going with all of his cash. That's what he thinks is safest, and they have to do it today. So this is all out of whack. Roy has not set everything in motion, and he has Angela with him. So backed into this corner, Angela rightly figures out that it's because of a job that he's running, and Roy takes her along and essentially agrees to involve her in this scheme. So Roy goes to his bank to get access to a safety deposit box and pull out all the sterling. Angela ignores his instructions and follows closely along, and Roy adds her signature as an authorized person who can access the safety deposit box, though this is useless without the accompanying passphrase that would grant her access. So Roy grabs the money and fills a briefcase with it, and on the way back to the car, Angela finally gets him to admit that he has accumulated over $1 million in his scheming and scamming up to this point. So as they head to the airport, Roy briefs her on her part, and they go to pull this job. After sitting down with Chuck and Frank, Angela stages a freak out at the bar, screaming at the bartender for not letting her have a drink, saying she left her ID in her luggage, and she even smashes a glass. And while Chuck is looking back at this display, Roy swaps out the briefcase with the money in it for we assume an empty briefcase.
Yeah, dummy briefcase.
Yeah, a ringer. Yeah. The ringer. It's filled with his old laundry. Since we're on
on Lebowski,
Lebowski.
Yeah.
So Roy collects the briefcase with the money and the gym bag with the American dollars, and tells Frank to follow Chuck to the plane, or at least to security, however far he can go. The point being that an escort would prevent Chuck from checking the briefcase before he was already en route to a different location, unable to react in any way to being scammed. So Angela and Roy get back in their car and go to leave the airport. On their way out, Chuck shows up and attacks the vehicle, grabs Angela's hair through an open window, and they sort of peel out of the parking structure, get caught kind of comedically at the exit gate. The conversation is benign but funny, like the person in front of them. I can't even remember what they're talking about, but it's nonsensical. It's the kind of nonsensical make conversation you have that had me kind of chuckling, especially with how tense the scene was supposed to be. They managed to make it out of there in the nick of time. And then they meet up with Frank in some random parking lot to debrief, I suppose. So Frank is worried. The guy caught on. Roy is convinced the guy won't go to the police because he's going to have to explain what illegal activity he was attempting to participate in. And they couldn't find him anyway. And Frank suggests, hey, look, you and I haven't ever gotten pinched, but maybe Angela has a record. And Roy's like, that's ridiculous. She's 14. So they go and they ask Angela. Turns out Angela was arrested, booked, and fingerprinted for a shoplifting offense the previous year. So Frank is put out by this. Roy is put out by Frank being put out by this. And Roy goes to take Angela home. There's a bit of an emotional scene where Roy is basically telling Angela, we can't associate anymore. You're messing up this thing I have with my partner. I'm going to have to lay low after all this. I don't know when I'm coming back. Angela, of course, cries. And sort of as like a final fuck you or twist of the knife, Angela gives him an ashtray with a Chihuahua angel in it. It's got like a halo,
it's got like wings and shit. Yeah.
And Frank has
a dead dog. She gives him a thing with a dead dog in it.
Yeah.
And also, something I would totally have.
Yeah.
Frank has a predilection for dog knickknacks for whatever reason.
Tchotchkes.
It's something that we saw when Angela was snooping through his place.
Yeah.
There are worse aesthetics an OCD man could have in his house, though. So, good on him.
Like precious moments shit.
Like Hummel dolls. Erotic Hummel dolls.
Now I'm going to have to look up the secondary market on erotic Hummel dolls. So Roy again tries to, another instance where he tries to take back this knee-jerk reaction, but Angela just walks off. Roy goes into a depression spiral at this point. He's staying inside. He's not cleaning up after himself. He's ignoring phone calls. And then in a panic, he realizes he's out of pills. He tries to get a hold of his doctor, Dr. Klein, but he's unavailable for the weekend. So he ends up fishing through the garbage in like full protective gear to find one of the empty pill packets that he had been using up to this point.
Something about his protective gear actually did strike me as pretty funny throughout the movie. More consistently, he uses a Ziploc bag that he just puts his hand in as a glove than he does actual fucking plastic or rubber gloves.
Yeah, which is weird, but
it's weird.
Mean, he does use the dish gloves.
Use the dish gloves
to some degree.
If he's rifling around through trash or the garbage disposal, he's got a fucking like Ziploc bag in his hand.
So with the spent packaging in hand, he books it for a pharmacy. His tics are going full bore at this point in time. And this also includes my favorite freak out in the movie, one of my favorite Nick Cage scenes of all time. The pharmacy that he goes to is very busy, and he waits until, like, he scrambles between lines until somebody departs, and then he jumps in front of the people in line to talk to a pharmacist. And when this happens, the next guy in line goes, "Hey, buddy, have you ever heard of a line?" And Nick Cage turns around and he goes, "Hey, have you ever been dragged out to the sidewalk and beaten until you piss blood?" And it's amazing. It's a great scene.
It's perfect.
One of my favorites. No notes. Excellent execution. 100%.
So I actually have it loaded up right now.
Yeah, oh yeah. Play that shit.
Share that screen. Play that shit. Piss that blood.
Piss that blood.
Piss that
sounds. Hang on. This is one of those things I always forget how to throw the sound on.
It's all good. I always end up cutting like 3 minutes out of these segments anyway.
Yeah, because I fucking hate this.
We need to build a real soundboard one of these days.
There we go.
Hi, I need a refill of this. I don't have a prescription. Sir, please wait your turn. I know, but this is an emergency.
Hey, buddy, ever heard of a line?
Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you pissed blood? Listen, I'm...
I fucking love it.
It gets me every fucking time.
Perfect.
Amazing scene. One of my absolute favorites of all time.
But also, just so you know, my hard drive is now full of Nick Cage movies, so I actually can create a soundboard. It'll take me some time, but it can be done.
So, the pharmacist originally pushes back. I can't give you anything without a prescription. But Roy is so visibly suffering from his ailments that the guy at least relents and looks at the packaging. After a brief examination, the pharmacist says, "This is just a supplement. It's in this aisle. Go check." And Roy is really resistant to this new information till he goes to the aisle, opens. It's a fucking menopausal soy supplement. Before soy supplements were funny as a joke. This was 2003. Nobody was making these jokes yet.
Yeah, now he's being feminized and he's gonna become a femboy.
Yeah. Catboy Nick Cage. There you go.
Nick Cage is the anarchist Catboy.
So yeah, if we have any artists listening to the podcast regularly, please send us fucking Catboy Nick Cage. We'll make it the primary,
the official, absolutely.
100%,
without a doubt.
And I personally will pay you $25 for that art. I don't care.
I'll throw in another 25.
I'll throw in a 25 too. You get $75.
I actually know an artist.
That's enough to buy for that. One new video game.
Yeah, God, video games got fucking expensive.
I mean, like they always.
The fuck did this happen?
I mean, like if any cartridge that had a save function back in the 90s was like a $80 to $90 cartridge.
Yeah, but so I feel like we
don't remind people
at $60 for a long time.
It was, yeah.
Also, listeners, this is an exploding offer because I do have a friend who takes art commissions in mind, and I'm gonna hit them up to see if they have capacity for a $75 Catboy Nick Cage piece. Now that my heart is set on this, so let us know. Reach out. So after opening a box like right in the middle of the pharmacy and looking at the packets, Roy realizes what he's been taking.
He's been bamboozled.
He confronts Dr. Klein when Dr. Klein gets back from his weekend abroad, wherever he might have been. And the doctor says, "Yeah, I've been giving you these as a placebo. You don't need medication. Your issues are minor." And then calls him out about lying about his profession. He does this in an interesting fashion that I just enjoyed for the clever aspect of it. Apparently the footrest the doctor has been using for years is like a very expensive piece, and even non antique people have routinely commented on it, and Roy hasn't given a shit any of the numerous times he's been to the office.
He's also got a totally dope boat model in the background in that office that I fucking love and wanted to jump into the screen and steal myself. Add it to my collection of boat models.
So Roy explains that he's not a criminal, he's a con artist. The primary difference being that people give him their money. He doesn't steal it from them specifically. It seems like a fine line, but I understand the justification from Roy's point of view. But this does devolve into Roy having a sobbing breakdown about how he lost Angela because of his profession, causing her to, be alienated from him once again. So Roy, after this revelation in therapy, who says men can't go to therapy?
I do. Men can't go to therapy.
Roy can.
Only femboys go to therapy.
It turns out to be.
Are you calling Tony Soprano a femboy?
I sure am.
I am.
What a beta cuck.
Tony Soprano, cat boy.
He did get cucked by a priest. In fairness,
yeah.
No, he didn't. The priest didn't get anywhere.
There was an emotional cuckolding.
He almost got cucked by Furio. But this is The Sopranos.
He did almost get cucked by Furio.
I'm not gonna fucking step on Michael Imperioli's toes here. None of us are.
Well, or there's another great podcast called Pod Yourself a Gun that you should listen to.
I might have to check that out.
Well, there's Pod Yourself with a Gun, and then there's Pod Yourself the Wire too. They're both phenomenal.
Intriguing.
Okay, sorry, continue.
No, so
I'm a little angry at myself for not picking up. I was at Goodwill today and they had The Wire season 1 on DVD, and I was like, do I really need that?
Yeah,
now that I'm thinking about it, I really needed that.
Yeah,
let's stop in tomorrow.
Yes. Why don't you hit up your support group, us, the podcast group chat, to check before you make these decisions?
Well, it's because I was rushing to get to the sushi place for my pickup order for my lunch.
That's fair.
Yeah, I was about to say that's totally fair then.
Yeah.
So Roy meets with Angela at the park again. She still hasn't she doesn't seem to have forgiven him, but she does agree to talk with him. And Roy tells her about how he saw a lawyer about pursuing joint custody. Angela starts she looks uncomfortable and starts crying partway through this diatribe by Roy. But then hugs him and says she's happy that he's doing this and trying that for her. Roy and Frank meet at Roy's place, and Roy tells Frank he's out, he's retiring. He knows he can't maintain this lifestyle and try and be a bigger part of Angela's life. He even gives Frank his own cut from the last con that they pulled on Chuck, which is $40,000, which is not an insignificant sum of money.
Hey, that would pay off my mortgage.
Yeah, for real. And then he goes out to dinner with Angela. It's a cutesy thing. They go to a Spanish restaurant of some sort. They salsa dance a little bit, and then they go.
Well,
home.
Angela salsa dances.
Yes.
Nick Cage shuffles back and forth a little bit.
To be fair, salsa dancing is not particularly intuitive if you're white and have no rhythm. I've had somebody try and teach me that one, and it was a painful experience.
I work in a fucking restaurant, and all the kitchen staff are Spanish, and a couple of the ladies have tried to get me to dance with them in the back when they got the music going, and I just do not have the rhythm for it.
You're like, absolutely no, I will not embarrass myself.
So I got like these fucking 60-year-old Spanish ladies that are just making the shrimp scampi back there and trying to dance with me. Can't do it. Not capable.
Figure it out, man.
I gotta.
Figure it out, because if you do, then you're gonna get homemade tamales and shit.
I know.
So sort your shit out, man. I will teach you to salsa dance myself if I need to. So when they arrive home that night, it is a pretty disturbing scene. Looks like Chuck has found them, and Chuck has got a gun. Frank is there with them, pretty severely beaten. It looks like Chuck managed to track them down through Angela, who was caught on camera in the gift shop when she was buying the dead Chihuahua dog ashtray for Roy. Roy offers to give him the cash he has on him in his dog safe. But Chuck does not allow Roy to go get it himself. He insists that Angela go. And then after Angela has left the room to retrieve the money, Chuck essentially tries to blackmail Roy, saying, "You're going to do cons for me now. You're not retired. And if you say no, I'm going to make sure that Angela goes to juvie." At which point Roy goes, "Listen to these ads," which I thought was a weird non sequitur, but this is the business we're in.
Damn, twice in one movie.
Amazing.
4 times in one movie.
Fortuitous for us, really, if you think about it.
Yeah.
And so after these threats are being levied by Chuck, Angela comes back into the room with the gun that she has taken from the safe. Remember, she saw it before. She opts to go with the fuck Chuck option instead of just handing over the cash. But she is as unsteady as you would expect a teenager to be, handling a gun for the first time. And this leads to a pretty dramatic conflict here. As Chuck tries to take the gun from Angela, the gun goes off, and Chuck is unfortunately struck directly in the stomach. Not a good way to go out. Gunshot to the gut.
Nope.
I've heard it's pretty bad.
Get all that stomach shit in you.
Yep.
So Roy has Frank take off with Angela with instructions to go to a particular motel. He says he'll meet up with them in some time, and Roy is going to take Chuck to the hospital. At least that's what he tells Roy and Angela. Before they leave, though, Roy specifies to Angela that the story is that he shot Chuck. She didn't do anything. No matter what, that is the story from here on out. Roy goes back into the house, and we get the sense, at least I did personally, that Roy's intention was not to take Chuck to the hospital, because his first stop is to his extensively stocked cleaning closet and to pull several trash bags from a box. But when he rounds the corner into the living room again, Chuck is nowhere to be found. The living room is empty. Roy turns to look behind him and is clocked pretty heavily directly in the head. Fade to black. He wakes up in a hospital bed. Roy does, to be clear, handcuffed. And there are 2 detectives there that start questioning him. The detectives want to know where Frank is. They also want to know where Angela is. Roy tells them that he shot Chuck. And the detectives indicate that Chuck did not survive his gunshot. They found him expired in Roy's driveway. And also, his story doesn't line up because they found a fingerprint on Roy's gun that is a fair bit smaller than his, lending some sinister implications to them trying to figure out where Angela is. Roy tells the detectives that he'll confess to everything if they just let him see his shrink. Dr. Klein does show up as requested, and after invoking some level of doctor-patient confidentiality, Roy and Dr. Klein are left in the room alone. So Roy essentially tells Dr. Klein, "Hey, I need you to make a call. I need you to get a hold of Angela and give her the passcode to my safe deposit box." I'm assuming his thinking being that Angela would be able to use the money that he's collected to safely stay out of range of the long arm of the law. After giving the doctor the passcode and the doctor leaving, Roy eventually falls asleep. He wakes up sometime later, incredibly sweaty. We've all been there, right? Terrible feeling.
Yeah.
Meat sweats. Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Yeah. When I eat too much prosciutto and then I wake up at like 4 a.m. and I'm just slick with the stuff. Get the meat dreams too.
So Roy calls out for somebody to turn on the air. Nobody responds. He gets out of bed. He's no longer cuffed, by the way, which seems significant. He stumbles to the door, knocks on it, calls out to the detectives. Nobody answers. And then when he exits the room, he finds an oddly sparse, sort of like threadbare carpet office room with just a little like CCTV screen displaying his hospital room. He goes to the door of this room and exits it and finds out he's in some like tiny like access building or supplemental sort of like where you'd have to take classes when they were adding a new wing on your high school.
Yeah,
one of those fucking things on top of a parking garage. At this point, we start getting some narration from Frank. Essentially, Frank is explaining that he learned, everything worth learning from Roy. And one of his bits of advice was, if you ever got a chance at a big score, to take it. It's followed with some empty platitudes and sort of apologies as we see Roy running around, going to Dr. Klein's office, which is abandoned at this point. And then back to his dog safe, which is empty except for the a note from Frank, which is the note that's being narrated at this point. And then finally to a safe deposit box, in which all that is left is a stack of 2 to 3 $100 bills as a parting gift. Finally, Roy goes to see his ex-wife in person. The first time he has contacted her throughout the entirety of this film, at least the first time he has contacted her successfully, we should say. And we learn that his ex lost the pregnancy after they split up. He does not have a kid with her. This causes Roy to break down, first sobbing, and then having a bit of hysterics where he's just cracking up. At this point, we get a time skip, like every good anime. Matchstick Men, which is modeled after many animes, has a time skip.
It has so much in common with One Piece, it's not even funny.
1 year later, we see the inside of a carpet store. And Roy is working as a salesperson. A young couple comes in, and Roy goes over to talk to the gentleman.
Who is absolutely fucking shredded.
Yes, you can't tell.
You can't tell.
They love putting the shredded dude in long sleeve baggy shirts for whatever reason.
Dude's shredded like lettuce, man.
It's crazy.
It's wild. He's toit like a tiger, even.
So after talking to the guy for a little bit about his expectations, budget, blah, 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 the guy calls over his girlfriend, who we see is Angela, which for the first time in this film is dressed age appropriately as far as her actress is concerned.
Yeah, because she's like 23.
Hammers home. By the way, I avoided describing Angela so far in the film pretty explicitly because I didn't want to give away the game. If you're choosing not to watch the film and instead listening,
I might have blurted out a little something in episode 1 that would have given it away.
Yeah,
but
there was
that is what it is. It's okay.
Yeah.
I'll
cut it out in editing.
No, like I said, it's fine. There are elements that can give the game away earlier in this film, but describing these things as opposed to seeing them, we get to play around with it a little bit. But yeah, Angela during most of the events of this film is almost cartoonishly dressed young, right? She's got the tiny little buns most of the time.
Yeah.
She has a retainer in, and she's wearing kid style clothes, and riding on a skateboard. Which again,
she never fucking does a sick kickflip on. I was disappointed.
Yeah, that's how you know she's not a real
fucking
skater.
in her 20s.
Yeah, she'd fucking dislocate something. Just try.
Yeah, look, she is not a skater boy. She did not say "see you later, boy."
No, she didn't.
So, but in this scene, she's wearing a dress. She has red highlights in her hair, which is worn down in a kind of fashionable, bob cut, and wearing makeup and so on and so forth. And Angela freezes up a bit, seeing Roy, but manages to play it cool and not blow up her own spot. And Roy does her what one could only assume the professional courtesy of not calling her out in front of her current boyfriend. Although he does take a couple of jabs indicating like, oh, well, we could take some price off the square footage if you'll pay in cash in classic Cage delivery. Ultimately, Angela concocts a reason for her boyfriend to leave the store and give her a moment alone with Roy, saying she left her wallet in the car. So Angela thanks Roy for not
blowing up her spot,
and reveals that was the only scam she ever did. And she's not running a game on her current boyfriend. He's nice and treats her well. She also reveals that Frank, of course, screwed her out of her share of the con that they pulled on Roy. Roy can't manage to shake the dad shtick that was instilled in him during the course of this con. And even Angela gets a bit choked up as she apologizes. When she asks if he's mad at her, Roy says she didn't take his money. He gave it to her. She ends up buying a roll of god-awful leopard print carpet with her boyfriend, which I thought was an unnecessary but hilarious detail to throw in there. Before she leaves, she actually stops and asks if Roy wants to know her name, to which he responds he already knows her name. And so she says, "I'll see you, Dad," and heads off. At this point, we watch Roy head home, and we see he ended up hooking up with the cashier from the grocery store. And
super happy for him.
She's pregnant. And then credits roll. So we attempted, maybe unsuccessfully given some of our talk in episode 1, to keep the spoiler under wraps. One of the primary goals here is to take a visual medium and turn it into an audio medium for our listeners who don't have the time to watch movies but might like to listen to them on their commute. Whether or not we were successful, it's up to you to decide personally. But now that we have finished this, I do want to say Rich watched this for the first time, and he clocked the ending early. I watched this closer to its actual release date, and was flabbergasted and bamboozled, like watching a close-up magician when you're 5 years old. I found it very entertaining. In my rewatch, I did notice some cracks and foreshadowing that could potentially be described as ham-fisted, with hindsight being 2020.
Well, there were little things, but the big one was when he's teaching her to scam. He says, rule number 1, make sure that you are not getting scammed yourself. To which, like, there were already cracks where I was like, okay, this might end as like a twist where he's getting scammed. And then I pause it and I say, I kind of like think about it, and I'm just like, okay, where did he meet the doctor? The doctor was recommended by his friend. He never talked to the mom. The doctor talked to the mom, who was hired by the friend.
Yeah.
Like all of this. Yeah. And I was just like, and honestly, I enjoyed the movie, but it took me out of the movie once I saw that coming from so far away. I wasn't really paying attention. I was almost like just waiting for the twist at that point. Like, just give it to me.
I will say, on this being a subsequent watch, one of the biggest ones to me is the scene in which Roy is telling Angela about seeking a shared custody agreement after contacting a lawyer, and she starts crying early on into that conversation. That struck me as the character maybe regretting their part in this scam, but then ultimately using those emotions like a good actor or actress, and using it to double down on the performance that they were playing. That one really stood out on this subsequent watch for me. But like all of the pieces are there to figure this out. But all in all, a solid movie. I really don't have any complaints about this. Includes one of my favorite unhinged Nick Cage scenes of all time. Generally a fantastic performance. Sam Rockwell is charming as always. Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything really negative to say. Allison Lohman did fantastic as Angela in both halves of the role. All in all, this is a solid fucking film.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I liked it.
It was entertaining.
A-.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know how it stacks up to some of our super heavy hitters, but it puts up a solid front. I would put it in towards the top of the middle of the pack at the very least. It doesn't take too many risks in general. But you know what? The people like the middle of the lane because it's the broadest. So
the only risk it takes, honestly, is that one scene transition that we didn't actually talk about on either of the episodes, where it just fucking flips to another screen like a PowerPoint. And I wish it did more of that. I wish it did that for every scene transition.
Yeah. Yes, I do agree.
Yeah, it led I could use a little bit. It had a solid vibe.
I could use a little bit more unhinged Cage too.
I could have used a little bit more of the Hans Zimmer, like go a little harder with that score.
If I could have gotten 2 more scenes as intense as the pissed blood scene, it would have shot up a decent amount in my eyes.
Yeah, still solid. Recommend. If you're at this point in the episode, you know the twist is kind of wasted on you. But I wouldn't say that it is necessarily against your best interests to still watch this film. It's charming, entertaining, and the performances are solid.
Yeah, and we all kind of know how I judge Nick Cage movies, which with the is it better than Between Worlds? And yeah, I would say this is better than Between Worlds.
I disagree.
I know you're going to disagree. I'm saying in my ranking.
From a technical and broad appeal perspective, sure. From an artistic perspective, no.
Well, I mean, that movie was fucking bonkers, so
yeah, it was art.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good film, man. I mean, honestly, solid director, solid casting. And the writers did a great job with CVs that wouldn't necessarily lend itself to assuming that off the bat, which teaches you not to judge a writer by their CV, except for the fact that we do that every single week here.
We do.
Love judging books by their covers.
Oh yeah,
the cover is the first thing you see.
It is the first thing you see. What am I going to read the whole thing and then judge it? Shit, man.
All right, so Rich, this is our favorite part of the podcast every time. What fresh hell do we have awaiting us?
Let's take a look as I roll the dice of fucking destiny. Oh, wait a minute. There is no dice of destiny.
I was gonna say
there is no dice of destiny.
Is this not the beginning of our fucking
Yes,
Spooktober?
It is. It is, because I already have these movies picked out. But
yeah, we got 4 that we know are happening for Spooktober.
Yeah,
we're only gonna talk about 1.
We didn't tell the audience yet, so now they get to know number 1 for Spooktober. We're doing The Wicker Man.
Go spook yourself. I am so fucking excited.
I'm excited because I get to talk about the original Wicker Man and how it's secretly a musical.
See, that's the dumb thing to be excited about. The best. Rich, have you seen this movie yet?
No, because again, I know this is not really a horror, but I kind of stay away from horrors.
You're gonna love the fuck out of this movie.
Okay.
Ryan, have you seen this one?
I have not seen this one. I've seen the original Wicker Man like 20 or 30 fucking times though.
All right. Well, welcome to your next 20 to 30 watchings, because this movie whips ass in a bear costume. You guys are gonna love it. I have it on DVD. I cannot wait to cover this one. I'm not saying whether or not it's a good movie or a bad movie. That's
completely immaterial to the conversation.
100%. What it is one of the coolest movies you'll ever see, and especially appropriate for the month of October, one of my favorite months, despite external circumstances that should make me dislike October. So I could not be more excited for this next film. My notes are going to easily surpass 10,000 words for sure. We'll have to see how that plays out in us actually running down this film. But I'm psyched.
I'm psyched for you then. And the way you're describing this, I wonder how this is going to fall on Ryan's Between Worlds meter.
Yeah, that's a good question. If this is the right kind of unhinged, this might become my mountaintop. This might become my peak.
Yeah, it might be a little bit lowbrow for you, but
I fucking like lowbrow though. I think it's funny when there's fart jokes and people get punched in the dick.
Yeah, so I had this conversation with Ryan once because I'm like, I'm always so jealous about like your taste in movies. You seem like to like all this art house stuff. He's like, and he was like, 70% of what I watch is the worst kind of trash.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've just never heard of it, so it seems like I'm this intellectual, but it's garbage.
It's garbage. I love trash. I'm like a raccoon like that.
This is
I'm nature's garbage disposal, but for movies.
This is so to be perfectly clear, this is my favorite kind of trash, and yeah. Yep.
I don't know if it's going to be mine because I will tell you my favorite kind of trash is like the movie Mafia with Jay Marr.
Dude, I fucking love Mafia though.
The big
bit
fucking
with Dom
DeLuise with the actual marbles in his mouth, or like a chicken egg or whatever.
Yeah.
I get it. This is that, but 100% unintentional.
Yeah.
Remember in episode 1 when we were talking about sincere posting being funnier than irony posting unintentionally? Yes. That's the Wicker Man. That is the Nick Cage Wicker Man.
All right.
I couldn't be happier.
I'm ready. I'm actually stoked. I was kind of dreading this one just because I love the original so much, but hey.
Divorce the original from this in your mind. 100%.
Oh, I already have. This is like how Crash and Crash are two different movies.
That is exactly right.
Yes.
That's exactly right. Treat this as its own unique thing and strap in and have fun. And most importantly, live text your watchings to me, because I cannot wait experiencing this for the first time vicariously through the both of you. Yeah, no, that's it. I'm sorry, we got to cut the episode here. I got to go watch Wicker Man like 50 times before we record our next
Am
episode.
I the only one who's going to watch the original too?
Yes.
I'll probably try.
Okay, I don't want to dilute.
You'll probably like the original. It's got some neat like pagan folk music, and Christopher Lee is there.
Ooh, I like a Christopher Lee.
Christopher Lee's fun. Oh, he's got like the most ridiculous hair in it too. It's great.
I like a ridiculous Christopher Lee.
All right, maybe I'll watch the original. We'll see. In the meantime, while you're waiting for the most anticipated episode of the year for us, The Wicker Man, please follow us on social media. You can find us on X at cagefight_pod. We have a Patreon that Rich is always going on about. Rich, what's the deal with the Patreon?
We sure do. It's patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight. For $1 a month, I will punch you in the face repeatedly.
That sounds like an amazing deal.
Yeah.
Some people charge a lot more money for that.
Patreon.com/Nick Cage Fight, $1 a month will get you punched in the face.
And like episodes without ads.
No, I took all those down. Down.
It's just the punch
yeah,
one?
you just put your address in and we show up and we each get one good shot at you.
No.
I feel like that's going to cost us a lot more money than we're making on it.
No, but that's the thing. There's only one tier, and it is variable. It's the cost of 3 plane tickets to wherever you live.
Hey, it sounds like a unique experience, if nothing else.
But once you get punched in the face, that's when you get, if you pay $1, you get all the episodes with no ads. You pay more money, you get more stuff like uncut content, like podcasts 2 weeks early. The good stuff is what I call it.
Yeah, we'll dox our Patreon subscribers to you.
Absolutely.
Meet up with them and have parties and stuff. It'll be great. All that sounds fantastic, guys. So please tune in next time when we cover Nick Cage's The Wicker Man. One of the movies that inspired me to pitch this podcast to my friends and force us all to embark on this journey together. So I am very excited for this. But while in the meantime, as always, thank you for tuning in. And please remember, dear listener, we appreciate you.
Have you ever been dragged into a parking lot and said, bye?